Hello, my name is Bryce, and this is my channel Striving Intellect. And today we're going to talk about NASA and the things that they've done in the past that have innovated and absolutely broken new ground in a lot of different ways. First, I actually have a clip of what is the Apollo 11, I believe, and it is the journey to the moon. And we'll just watch this real quick. It's absolutely amazing stuff.
20 seconds and counting. T-minus 15 seconds. Guidance is internal. 12, 11, 10, 9. Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff. 32 minutes past the hour. Liftoff on Apollo 11.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy, it looks good, Wally.
I mean, imagine seeing this in person.
Building
I know
shaking.
we have rockets.
Getting that buffeting we've become used to.
Like we've
What a
obviously
moment. Man on the way to the moon.
a ton of rockets. But it's still amazing to see something like this, especially for the time. This was absolutely some of the most innovative stuff out there. And the ingenuity of human beings is just astounding. Absolutely astounding.
Looks like a good trajectory so far, doesn't it, Wally?
Very good, very good. That's
Absolutely amazing. Again, obviously, we can see modern rockets at this point in time. It's not necessarily something new per se, but that was NASA in the Apollo 11, and obviously that is, if you believe it, the rocket that sent the first men to the moon. So this is another thing, and this is a little bit more modern of an example of something innovative that NASA has done. And this is actually just a short rundown in the DART program. And I've actually talked about this a little bit before, but this is specifically a anti-asteroid kinetic system that is meant to specifically move asteroids out of the trajectory of Earth so they don't collide with Earth. And it would be amazing if we had something like this. And in 2022, they actually had their first successful DART mission. DART was the first ever mission dedicated to investigating and demonstrating one more of asteroids' deflection by changing the asteroid's motion in space through kinetic impact. And generally speaking, I would assume that's the easiest thing for us to do in a situation like this, is just move the trajectory out of impact with Earth. But recently, there's been talks of cuts to NASA, and obviously for something like Earth defense, where we need it to actually defend from asteroids, we probably don't want to cut. But there are a lot of different things that people may call bloat in NASA. And I'm just going to read through this. This is on Ground News. Maryland lawmakers say Trump cuts to NASA Goddard could slash U.S. space program in half. Preliminary U.S. government plans suggest that the Trump administration aims to slash climate and space science budget across multiple agencies. These proposed cuts reflect Trump's past efforts to reduce the size of the U.S. government and prioritize other areas. NASA's Earth science budget could be halved. The NOAA budget could be cut by 27%, and projects like the Nancy Grace Roman Space Telescope face cancellation. Casey Dreyer stated that the action could mean wholesale dismantling of NASA's scientific fleet and pipeline of future missions. These potential cuts have alarmed scientists, raising concerns about brain drain and hindering the nation's ability of monitoring climate and explore space. Again, hopefully these cuts aren't too broad, and if they do cut what they say is half of the budget, I hope that our programs like DART, for example, are not on the chopping board. But there are a large amount of what people would call waste and bloated programs in NASA at this point in time. And this isn't necessarily something that is new. This article is from February 26, 2025. But people have been talking about this for ages. This is a report from Purdue, which I'll go over in a little bit, that was written in, it looks like 2015. So that was 10 years ago. But I'll just give this a little bit of a quick read. This is from the New York Post. NASA spent over $400,000 of taxpayer money on union time last year. So basically that means that they spent massive amounts of money on what looks like, I don't want to say waste, but like some people might call that waste. I'll just read a little bit of this. NASA spent more than $400,000 of taxpayer-funded union time over a 12-month ending September 30th, 2024. Leading GOP senator who has been probing federal expenditures on non-governmental work to accuse the space agency employees of ripping off taxpayers by an astronomical amount. That's funny. The $417,000 outlay can be traced to 30 workers who spent at least 4,078 hours over a physical year 2024 on union-related activities, according to data obtained. Union time encompasses various activities such as labor meetings representing employees who face disciplinary action, union-sponsored training activities, and preparing for collective bargaining negotiations. If federal employees want to space out from their jobs, I see what they did there, they need to refund the Americans people every penny earned instead. Although the amount that NASA taxpayer dollars set aside for union time has been on a downward trajectory, slipping from $477,000 in the physical 2023 year and $641,000 in 2019. That is a massive amount of money to spend on union time and hours to spend at meetings and training activity. Absolutely ridiculous. The idea that they're spending upwards of $500,000 to $600,000 or 4,078 hours on meetings and training, or even worse, collective bargaining, is absolute waste. I'm just going to say that right now. And again, it's not just them spending it on union time. This is a Bloomberg piece written by Michael Bloomberg himself. And I'm just going to read over this a little bit. Looks like it's talking about the Artemis moon mission. So NASA's $100 billion moon mission is going nowhere. The Artemis program is years behind schedule and billions of dollars over budget, should have taxpayers in the president dismantling. Answers: I mean, if there are truly hundreds of billions of dollars in, it may not necessarily be advantageous for us to cancel it yet. That being said, it seems like there is some bloat and waste in NASA. I'll go on. There are government boondoggles, and then there's NASA's Artemis program. More than half a century after Neil Armstrong's giant leap for mankind, Artemis was intended to land astronauts back on the moon. It has so far spent nearly $100 billion without anyone getting off the ground. Yet its complexity and outrageous waste are still spiraling upward. The next U.S. president should rethink the program in its entirety. As someone who greatly respects science and strongly supports space exploration, the more I have learned about Artemis, the more it has become apparent it is a colossal waste of taxpayer money. The problems start with the mission, which is more political than scientific. There's little humans can do on the moon that robots cannot. Technology has come a long way since 1969, to put it mildly. We do not need another person on the moon to collect rocks or take scientific measurements. And the cost of putting people on the moon and planning for potential rescue, should complications arise, are truly astronomical. To understand the level of wasteful spending, forget the $1 billion in spacesuits that have yet to be delivered. That's pocket change compared to the rocket called the Space Launch System. The National Aeronautical and Space Administration's Inspector General estimates the program has so far burnt through $23.8 billion. Each launch will likely cost at least $4 billion, quadrupling initial estimates. This exceeds private sector costs many times over, yet it can launch only once every 2 years. Unlike SpaceX rockets, it can't be reused, which is an absolute ridiculous thing to make into any rocket ship at this point in time. We have many reusable rockets, and the fact that they want to just trash the rocket after they use it one time is absolutely insane. It costs billions of dollars, and they're just burning it, basically. So I'm going to go on to Purdue. This is Purdue University's website, and this is just like a synopsis or overview of an article that they wrote way back in 2015. And it's titled Waste and Duplication in NASA Programs, the Need to Enhance U.S. Space Program Efficiency. Here's an abstract from it. The U.S. government faces acute budgetary deficits and national debt problems in the Obama administration. This was in 2015. These programs have been brought about by decades of unsustainable government spending, affecting all agencies, including the National Astronomical and Space Administration, or NASA. An outgrowth of this physical profligacy is the presence of wasteful and duplicative programs within NASA that prevent the agency from achieving its space and human spaceflight objectives. These problems occur due to the mismanagement of these programs from NASA and the creation of these programs in the U.S. Congress and congressional committees. This occurs because congressional appropriators tend to be more concerned about economically enhancing their states and promoting the re-elections instead of providing efficiently targeted funding and oversight of their programs to ensure they meet national space policy goals and provide tangible value to taxpayers. This work will examine... Okay, so basically the idea is that because funding and the different jobs and employment that they actually have for the space programs are divvied up in different congressional districts, the Congress doesn't necessarily want it to be as efficient as possible. And that it's in itself is absolutely not something that you want in a space program. First of all, you don't want it to be political. That is absolutely absurd. Even beyond that, the idea that they would reuse rockets in this day and age, and they didn't necessarily have reusable rockets when this article was written. So the idea that they would reuse rockets for the moon mission in 2024, 2025, when they were creating the Artemis program, is beyond the pale of bloat and actual just... It is absolutely something that should not be done. So hopefully these budget cuts don't necessarily affect some of our more important programs. I think that there are obviously some massive programs that we need, like the protection of the Earth with the DART program. That being said, there's obviously a problem with bloat and waste, and it's our tax money that they're using, so they should use it on things that are important. I just thought this was really interesting. I hope everybody else did too. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe.